Kia ora, I'm Sonia, you're watching So NZ. Now this week I'm going to be interviewing actor, comedian, writer, producer, director Jonny Brugh, who's most famously known for his character in the New Zealand film What We Do in the Shadows. Take it away.
You have not done the dishes for 5 years.
Ladislav is right. It's unacceptable to have so many bloody dishes all over this bench like that.
I'm so embarrassed when people come over here.
What does it matter? You bring them over, you kill them!
You are an actor, comedian, writer, producer, director. There's a long list of credentials behind your name. When I looked you up on Wikipedia, at least.
The title of producer is a shifty one because that could mean anything. Just be part of the process and maybe finding funds and things like that. And sometimes if you don't get paid very well for a project, you kind of end up as a producer because you're putting your time in. It used to be the case that you can't really specialize because unless there's lots of work for your particular niche, but if you're going to be a comedy actor, you have to do other things as well.
Like, when did you realize that you wanted to be a performer and that you were actually funny?
It's probably when I was a child and my sisters and I used to we just play together and I would do sketches for them and they laughed a lot. When I went to school, the concept of choosing that as a vocation or as a career became apparent and I thought, well, surely I should do that. I went to secondary school and then went to art school because I like painting and drawing. Actually, drawings, I don't really like drawing. Drawing sucks because I think I'm so shit at it. Yeah, so there's that's the kind of thing, that's the drawings that I do.
And that wouldn't have gotten you into art school, would it?
It's quite animated, my drawing.
Now, if you had to give up any one of those things that you currently do, which one would you give up? Because you do so many things. House
cleaning. I like cleaning houses for money. I don't do that anymore.
When was the last time you were on set and where was that?
Shooting pickups for educators, a TV series by myself, Jackie Van Beek and Jesse Griffin.
I just wanted to let you know, not a big deal.
Well, it kind of is a big deal.
Okay, when you're in prison, mate, you do shit to survive.
Have you been to prison?
Yes, I have, and it is not a nice place, mate.
Wasn't on your CV?
Yes, it was.
No.
6 years, Victoria Penn.
Oh, Christ, I thought that was a polytech.
It's just kind of like a semi-improvised soap opera set in a school.
In terms of shooting something like that, though, does that actually take more time than, say, if you were to be working off a script?
A script is really just putting ideas down on a page. I've always thought that when writing, you may as well just give the actor the chance to explain themselves. I think it should be loose.
Now, you, I guess, are most famously known, I mean, because you also have a podcast now for this particular character, but Deacon from What We Do in the Shadows. And I mean, has it almost become like the bane of your existence in a way, having performed that character and it developing a bit of a fan base?
The bane of my career is all the other characters, the characters that I end up doing who are kind of needy, chip on the shoulder, Kiwi blokes. Monty McNamara from 800 Words, who sort of everyone seemed to despise as a character.
Selling real estate, George, not making a documentary. I think it's a chance to really stamp your personality on the place. Should we go inside?
Hang on, what about the view?
Beautiful Parata Bay. Some of the best surf in the world, right here.
Yeah, so why can't I see it?
Well, you could, if you bowled those trees.
Really? The chip? Where do you think that chip comes from?
Is there enough money in New Zealand for everyone to achieve financial security and our dream lives? I don't know. Maybe it's just a human condition. Maybe it's status anxiety. We're surrounded with success and failure. And we hope that we can be successful.
As long as we don't jump up and down about it too much and kind of be like the loudest person in the room.
Kiwis don't like to jump around too much and make too much noise.
With Deacon, why do you think that character sort of took off in such a big way?
He just assumes that he's sexy because he's a vampire. He assumes his erotic dance is very erotic. And I like that thought of someone just believing in something, even if it's not important whether it's true or not. Maybe that's charming. How is an asshole charming?
Everybody loves a good asshole. Those characters are always fun to watch.
Yeah.
You get to travel to Comic-Con as well, Comic-Con in the States. What's that like, and how do fans, respond to you as that character?
Deacon will turn up and do a Q&A session about what it's like to be a vampire, because the film is a documentary and the American audience really buy into the game.
Would you like some more? Obviously, that's for you.
They ask Deacon questions, ranging from silly ones like, so how did you get here? Did you fly? What's Deacon doing now? What's Deacon's passion? Deacon's gone from erotic dance into performance art.
What did Deacon do over lockdown?
Deacon did a podcast called Deacon's Podcast.
It is what it's on the box.
I was kind of stuck in my house. I decided I would set up a recording studio in my closet and start telling stories.
In terms of having taken on that character and you know what it's like when you are performing a character, whether it's theatre or whatever, you take all of the idiosyncrasies on board, but because this character has never left you, would you say that it's kind of become fused into Jonny, the person?
I think Deacon was already just there. Myself, Jermaine and Taika and Corey and Stu made a short film back in 2006 called Some Interviews with Some Vampires. Those characters come out of ourselves. We don't grab them out of the air. And Deacon really is an alter ego. It's a game I get to play where I get to be impatient. The worst traits of humans is being impatient and too honest. And
do you think being too honest is an issue? I think we need to all be more honest, I feel. I think New Zealanders don't like to be particularly honest or direct. And I feel like that's problematic.
I like mystery and telling lies. See, if I don't know someone, I don't see any point in being too truthful. Obviously, you've got to be truthful. Certain things, you don't want to serve somebody spaghetti bolognese if they're a vegan. But at the same time, why not make shit up? I mean,
isn't it about kind of being honest and real with yourself in order to be able to convey that to an audience in a way? Because I've never really thought about the whole honesty thing in the way you have, so you've really...
Stories are about watching humans deal with unusual situations that are ultimately compelling. And we like characters when they're charming, and we invest emotionally watching people do crazy stuff to overcome ridiculous situations.
It took a moment for the haze to clear, and when it did, I realised Amy wasn't in bed with me anymore. She'd vanished like some handsome prince. And then I saw it, there on the pillow. She'd left a note.
Dear John, I always swore that I'd never get involved in an office romance, especially with someone so old.
When was the last time you felt that you failed, or what was one of the projects that you are almost embarrassed to... Do you have any of those sorts of projects that you were embarrassed to talk about?
Oh, yeah. Well, stand-up comedy is the perfect place to... And that's probably where I'd go to find the episodes of me falling over in front of an audience and sort of trying to clamber back. Obviously, you don't want to be doing stand-up comedy and being crap, because you probably won't get invited back to do any more gigs.
I mean, do you think, for an actor, it's important to have ego or no ego?
Actors spend a lot of time dealing with their own ego and their characters' egos, constantly sticking their face in the way to see how they go. I mean, whenever I do auditions, the audition process is full of failure. Learn a script, turn up, do an audition. My American accent's terrible. The casting agent's watching me and going, okay, thanks, Jonny. And then how many of those parts do I get? People have ego. I think actors get plenty of time to be confronted by their own ego. They probably spend more time talking about it. So on that sense, yeah, silliness is the most fun part of making television and film. There is definitely more money in America than there is in New Zealand. I get to go to pop culture conventions and talk about being a comedy actor in film and television. Because of what we do in The Shadows, the feature film, there's a big fan base in the States. The last few summers, I would look for conventions that would be interested. Such a big horror industry in America.
Peter is getting some makeup for his appearance at the convention. Hello, Peter.
Hello.
And this is Don. He is going to do the makeup. Peter wants to look like Ryan Gosling, but I don't think it's going to work.
So when Deacon goes there, everyone's dressed up as their favourite character. Cosplay is an enormous phenomenon in America. I get sent videos of people cosplaying Deacon.
That's quite strange for you.
It's not weird. I mean, it's been 8 years of it, so I think it's probably strange early on.
Do you get fan art? I mean, and a lot of fan art is quite odd.
I get sent lots of fan art, yeah. They send it to my agent's office, and then I got sent a clock with Deacon on the front, drawings, and so there's a lot of good illustrators that that promote their work at these pop culture conventions.
You know, the film industry, television industry, all of that's been affected by COVID. How long do you think it's going to take before the industry kind of bounces back? How does that affect opportunities for Kiwis like yourself to be going overseas and, you know, seeking opportunities there?
I think we've probably got about 1 year to 2 years before there is a vaccine. I'm personally stuck here. So we have Avatar that's gearing up to go into production soon in New Zealand. There are systems set up to get all of the international people over here safely and isolated and then into work. I won't be going to any conventions in the States because that includes meeting lots of fans, and I doubt that conventions are going to be able to get up too easily where they're putting 100,000 people into a vast hall. Mind you, every time I go to the States, I worry about catching a flu. I just assume that I'm going to catch something, and I haven't, so that's good. It's because we sort of secretly wipe our hands with gel under the desk in between each handshake.
Oh, but now we'll just be doing it openly, right? Which is great. Yeah. I'm loving the fact that there's hand sanitizer everywhere, to be honest.
If there was one thing that you think needs to change in the arts industry in New Zealand, what would that be?
I would love to be able to find the money to put into other areas of production. Whenever I come up with things that I would like to see made, that I pitch to producers, they go, how are we going to afford that? What do you mean climbing up the Himalayan mountains in yoga pants with lots of mountain cougars? So can't we just animate it? No, who's going to pay for that?
What's a mountain cougar?
A mountain lion, mountain leopard. While it looks like a wonderfully lucrative, fabulous career to be an actor in New Zealand, you'll be surprised how little money is made as an actor. If someone makes a show and it's sold overseas, some of that money should go back to the cast and crew.
Because one of the realities for New Zealand actors here is that if they're even, you know, on our most popular soap opera, that once their character's written off, they're probably waiting tables or working at a bar or doing some other job, unless they have those other skills and making their own work.
And they're probably they might even make more money. It's not a glamorous industry. It's great to be creative. To get there, you need to be doing it a lot.
I guess there are a lot of massive global issues and events that are happening right now. How do you feel about what's happening, the race riots, discrimination, how all of that's kind of shifting to New Zealand?
I think we can consider the protests that we've seen recently to be as much about New Zealand and some problems we have here, the same problems but different. Racism it's so deep that people should reconsider the way we think and are. And just watching what's going on overseas, I have a lot to learn.
What's something else that's like at the forefront of your mind?
It's important that television is educational. and informative. I'm beginning to think about how I can be part of that. Maybe I can contribute by relearning about the world.
You know, educating ourselves at this time is probably one of the most important things we can do, because it's so easy for people to just want to use somebody else as a scapegoat, but then it just kind of keeps things in a perpetuating cycle that doesn't really go anywhere.
There's a show called The DNA Detectives, and I am on the show. In my episode, on my father's side, my Dutch ancestors had slaves and bought slaves, ran plantations in South America, in Suriname. I had the experience of going to Amsterdam and learning about the use of slaves and slavery, and then from there we went to South America.
How does it feel to know that you have that in your family history? Because obviously you're not responsible for making those decisions.
No, but I did kind of feel like it. I think it helped me to see where we come from, and whether or not it defines who I am. It defines who I am through what I'm learning about the history of humans is way more important and compelling.
That was actor, comedy writer, genius, creative genius, Jonny Brugh. And that's all from me. I'm Sonia, you're watching So NZ. Catch you next time.